welcome to the new camera setup. I hope you can see me well. If you could have a chair today, because we're going to be using that, and at least one of these blocks. Just get that ready and find your Tadasana. It's a beautiful morning on the West Coast, beautiful sunrise here in Garden Bay. And I acknowledge these seashell territories that I'm standing on, and if you would like to acknowledge where you're standing, if you're coming from a territory in North America or somewhere else in the world for that matter, actually. So when you're ready, bring your arms up. We're doing hips today. Exhale through the center. Bend the knees, feel the legs. And let's go down a little deeper into Uttanasana. Inhale up. And exhale. Just finding the spine from Tadasana to Uttanasana. Now I invite you to add some humming to this. So we're dealing with emotions today. Just do this in your own timing. You'll notice how the humming breath slows you down a bit. Now coming up onto the toes, if that's comfortable for you, and adding an om. Just notice how the sound perhaps is soothing to your nervous system. Just finishing up. And if you'd like to make an intention, and in our tradition, we usually call this bhavana, similar to sankalpa, making a vow, but bhavana is an attitude with which you do something. And you can bring that attitude in through something you say to yourself, a visualization. So it might be, I usually say, may I teach well, may I connect with my students, may they be nourished through this practice. I say something like that, and say something that works for you for today. And when you're ready, coming up onto the toes. And perhaps, if it's comfortable, coming to the side. You can try to stay on your toes as long as possible. And then at the end, come down Go into a deep stretch, the whole side body, and into that hip, stick that hip out. Really go in there. Inhale, coming up. And exhale, other side. Now, try to keep your shoulders aligned. So hopefully you can see in your screen on your computer as your mirror, whether your shoulders are aligned. There'll be a tendency often to rotate the top shoulder forward, especially if you have scoliosis or other imbalances in the spine. Now, if this is too hard, you can bring the lower arm down. You can see how that feels. You might also feel a bit more rhythmic, which is soothing for the nervous system. Adding some rhythmic movement, which my psychologists in the room will know about. This is balancing for the nervous system. And soon we're going to stay in the pose. We're doing a lot of side bends today. Next week, we'll do more twists, rotated twists, but today a lot of side bends. Now adjust your arms to comfort. So I like to hold opposite elbows because I find it goes into that hip that I want to target a bit more. So just feel what works for you, maybe holding the top wrist. And then perhaps crossing that foot, the side you're on, so I'm on your left, my left foot over, and then see if you can go a little deeper into the hip and lower back. It's getting into that QL region, quadratus lumborum, and perhaps into the IT band, the glutes. And I noticed I wasn't breathing much in that pose. Inhale, center, exhale. It is harder to breathe when you're in these strange, unusual shapes. Try to lengthen the exhale at least. And close your eyes if you can manage the balance. And coming up, and exhale, release. All right, we're going to keep going in the Parshva direction. Parshva means asymmetric or side. Heading to the left, so I'm mirroring you. So turning your left foot out, right foot in, or square. So classical is a square foot, heel to heel alignment or heel to arch. I turn my foot in because of my knee. It feels more comfortable. So that's your choice. And then inhale, bring your arms up, palms facing down, shoulder height. And exhale, imagine a wall behind you. You're sliding along that wall and finding your spot. Now again here, working on aligning those shoulders. There'll be a tendency to do this, and this is really not a good thing for your body. Like, yeah, there are a bunch of teachers in the room, you know what that looks like with your students, so avoid that one. So aligning those shoulders, inhale up, first finding the pose and then flowing in and out. Exhale, sliding along that wall, pull up on that kneecap or bend the knee, especially if you have knee issues. And just keep this going your own timing. I want you to put your mind on this outer hip. So for you, that's your right hip. And feel the stretch into the hip, maybe the lower back, maybe the shoulder. Where is it going in your body? And having repeated 3 to 4 times, we're going to stay now. Now this is working your core a lot. So again, I want you to make sure those shoulders are aligned. It's not about coming to the foot. Align those shoulders. Make sure that front shoulder is not rolling forward. So bring your hand actually on your lower back. I want you to loop that shoulder back. Some of you have to see the shoulders forward. So loop that shoulder back. Get those shoulders aligned. Just hang there. Don't even put any weight on that leg. And then from there, add that top arm. There, much better. Now breathe. Now I'm looking straight ahead because of my neck. You can also look down. On days my neck is really sore, I look down. And I rarely look up, but some of you will have that ability. So you can do that. You might slide down a bit more as you do this. And then inhale, coming up. Just be careful as you come up. Just come up nice and slowly. I'm using support, my hand on my leg. Exhale, feet center. Just take a moment. And set up for the other side, whatever works for you. Heel to heel alignment, heel to arch. Inhale, arms coming to shoulder height. Exhale, you can imagine sticking that left hip to the side, drawing that right hip back, drawing the belly in. Now bring that hand behind you, loop the shoulder back, align those shoulders. Finding the pose and then flowing 3 to 4 times. Inhale up and exhale. Using all those alignment cues. Inhale. Classically, we have the eyes open during all the standing poses, but you'll see me, I close my eyes often because I like to go inside my body and feel my body. So that is a modification that I prefer. Inhale. And last time, staying. This is really working with strength and deeper stretching as we stay. Now feel that hip, that left hip for you. See if you're getting a stretch into the hip, the lower back. Maybe all the way down to the foot. Some of you will feel something. Try to align those shoulders, bring the hand back at any time, loop the shoulder back, open the chest, and then add the arm. Focus on the breath, especially the exhale. If you can, don't hold on to the leg at all with that lower hand, you'll use the core more. Try to suspend in space. Draw that front hip back. And when you're ready, inhale, coming up. And exhale, release. Okay, so I think I'd better give you a forward bend as a counter. Let's bring our feet in a different direction as well. So let's just do a very simple pratikriya counter pose. Inhale, arms coming up, straight ahead. Exhale, I'm going to bring my hands to the chair. Bend my knees. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, forward. It's very, very simple for a bend. After a harder pose, sometimes it's nice to do a simple counter pose, very simple, just to let your body just rest. So this is not about challenge, this is about relaxation. Just, you know, when you go into challenge, like doing anything challenging in life, it's good to have a little rest after. So that's the counter pose. And then after doing that 3 to 4 times, maybe staying, I'm going to step back and I'm going to stretch the whole spine. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, tracking back. I'm going to bend the knees so I can stretch my lower back. Just keep that going. I know some of you have some lower back stuff going on. Bend the knees. See if you can tuck the tail under or slightly up. Depends on your back, but I'm tucking mine slightly under to stretch the lower back. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale, feel like someone's pulling my hips back. Stretching my whole spine. And last time. Bring your hands to your thighs. Exhale. Inhale, pressing up. Very gentle pratikriya counter pose. Okay, we're going to go back into some challenge now. So I promised you this is going to be a challenging little class. Inhale, arms coming up. We're going to go into some balances now. Exhale, I want you to balance to the side. Now, level 1 is just here, very simple. Your foot's on the ground. Level 2, see if you can go down a little bit more. Inhale, coming up. For the dancers in the room, this will seem very easy, I'm sure, but for the rest of us, it's probably fairly challenging. Now notice if one leg is a little harder than the other to balance on. And is that side a side where you've got a knee issue, for example? Just side to side, your own timing. Your own timing. Lovely to have you doing it all with me. I can see you on my screen here. It looks really cool. Just assessing what's going on with that body this morning. Now this is also rhythmic movement. So it's very soothing for the nervous system. We're working with mind and emotions always, but particularly when we go into the hips. And it's working with strengthening the inside and outside of the hips, the abductors and the adductors, both of those muscles, inner and outer legs. As you do it, things start to wake up. It's morning. Morning is a wonderful time to practice. Just ease your body into the day. You get the benefits for the whole day. Definitely my favorite time to practice. And just finishing up. And release. All right, so we're going to move around the clock, so to speak, now with the hips. This is right from Chennai. This is something from my own practice. Mr. Sridhar, I'm pretty sure created this because a few years ago I started seeing this in various practices he gives. Inhale, arms coming up, palms facing forward. So just acknowledging this practice comes from the indigenous peoples of India. Exhale. I'm going to stand on one leg and bring my other leg up, drawing in from pelvic floor up. Inhale, opening the hip. Really stand on this leg. So this is strengthening my standing hip, and it's opening and strengthening my other hip. Exhale, close to the center. Inhale, kick your leg back. So I just want to show this on side view. So you're standing up tall and you're kicking your leg back. It's like doing Shavasana, locust. Exhale, samastiti. So I hope you take this one home. This is very rhythmic, very fun. Inhale, arms coming up. I remember seeing a 75-year-old retired teacher do this in Chennai, my last trip. Exhale. She was adorable. Inhale, opening up. So imagine wearing a sari, doing this. Exhale, back to the center. It's a little tough. Inhale, kicking back, finding that back arch. And exhale, starting position. This is working all parts of the hip, strengthening and stretching. Inhale, arms coming up, round 3. Exhale, center. Use from the pelvic floor to the belly button to lift your leg. Draw that in. Inhale, opening up. I've got my palms facing up, thumbs back to get into my neck and shoulders. Exhale, feel free to have your palms down. Exhale, center. So that's up to you, according to your arms and your shoulders. Inhale, kicking back. Exhale, starting position. You can always bend your knees, take a little break there. Inhale, arms coming up, palms facing forward. Exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, drawing up. Inhale, opening. Exhale, centering. Inhale, extending. Exhale, starting position. We're going to do this one more round, fourth round. You can do it up to 6 times. Inhale. Chin down if you can. Jalandhara Bandha. Exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in. This is the whole Mula Bandha. Drawing that in as you bring your leg up. Inhale, opening. Really stand up on that standing leg. Exhale, centering. Inhale, extending. Exhale, starting position. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, drawing that leg up, belly in. Inhale, open the hips. Stand on the opposite leg. Stand nice and tall. Exhale, center. Inhale, extend. And exhale, relax. Probably warm now. I'm going to take off my layer at this point. Winter is coming. Thank God for exercise. So after that, again, let's just do a very gentle counter. So we're going to do some Uttanasana and Uttanasana. Inhale. We're going to bring our arms up to the front. So I'm going to do Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, half forward bend. I want you to round the spine. Now you can bring your hands to your chair if you want, or not. Inhale. You can have the legs straight if you prefer. I'm bending mine just to protect my lower back a bit. My lower back's feeling a little tender this morning, so I'm being just a little more careful by bending my knees a bit more. So it depends on the day. To see how you feel, you might go all the way to the floor. So just the halfway position. Now, if you want to make this harder, you can interlock the fingers and go halfway down with straight legs like this. That's a lot harder. Rounding the spine, drawing the belly in, this is a forward bend. Inhale, arching the spine coming up. Now we're going to come down to the ground or hands to the chair. Find your first full Uttanasana and just stretch it out. Inhale, Sthiti, looking up. You could have 2 blocks. You can have your hands on the chair. Exhale, forward bend. Just notice how you feel. Now there comes the sun. And when you're ready, coming up. And that was our counter pose. I want to do some Uttanasana to strengthen the hips and body in the hips. So this is also great for legs and feet. Ardha Uttanasana. Inhale. I'm going to bring the arms to the sides. Exhale. I want you to imagine there's a big tree. You're going to hug that tree. And sit down. Now, you can do this with the chair if you want. I'll show that in a minute. Inhale, coming up. And exhale, sitting down. I always like to do a land acknowledgement as I do this version of the pose. Acknowledging seashell territories that I am standing on, practicing on, living on. If you want to do that, feel free. Now you can do this with a chair where you sit up and down on the chair. This is kind of fun. It's actually harder in a way and easier in another way. It's just a different experience. So I want you to notice when you do this, how you feel both feet and both hips. This is for balancing the hips. So a lot of us have unstable hips. When you do this pose, it helps you balance the hips. It's sometimes called chair pose, so you can actually do it with the chair. And it's a great one as we age, because as we age, it gets harder to get up and down from the floor, up and down from chairs. And I personally want to be 90 and still up and down from the floor. That's my goal. So I'm going to keep doing stuff like this as I age. All right, finishing up. Now the next one, I want you to stay. So you can stay here in the pose here. You can bring your arms up classically to this position, palms together, interlocked, or you can be at a wall. See me okay? Hopefully, yeah, I think you can, good. Now you could have a block between your legs, or even a bolster that goes all the way down to your feet. I sometimes do that, but I'm just going to use a block today. And I'm going to use the wall, but you can do this in the center of the room, and you're going to stay here. If you're using the wall, if you like, inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. And this is a lot of work. Actually, I have to say this is harder than doing it in the center of the room. This will be a modification up. This is a Vini Yoga step up the ladder. So just try to stay in the pose and just move the arms up and down, or stay with the arms if you like. It's even harder. Going down as comfortably as possible. You can be higher up in the wall, that's easier, yeah. And when you've had enough, which might be about now, go into your forward bend. So I'm going to extend from the wall. I'm going to remove this block. I could use this block for my hands, actually. It's very nice, that extension. And when you're ready, gradually coming up. See the beautiful sun rising behind me, nice to see. And just finding your samastiti. Notice how you feel. So I always feel at this point in the practice that I'm really standing on the foot I normally don't stand on as much in my life. So if you have a leg like that you tend not to go on too much, just notice how you can feel maybe both feet right now a bit more than you could before. Okay, we're going to keep going. Lots of standing poses today. I'm just going to adjust these lights just a touch. Sun rising so you can see me well. Okay. All right, I think I got it. Okay, so we're going to use the chair soon and the blocks. I'm actually just going to have those there. So we're going to do a version of Uttanasana that has a balance in it. So I'm going to start with the chair, and some of you might want to do this with the block. I'll start with the chair. So inhale, arms coming up. So you're in your Uttanasana position, triangle with your feet, angle your feet to the left. So find that setup, sorry, I tell you what to do. Inhale, arms coming up. And exhale, you're going to bend that knee, that left knee a little bit, and see if you can come to the chair. I'm going to bring my hand on the lower back to start with and try to open my shoulders up. And I'm just going to go back and forth a few times. I'm doing this a little bit differently than I did on Sunday, for those of you who were with me then. Exhale, going into the pose and bending the knees. I'm showing you how we go in and out of the pose. I'm doing this with a chair. You can do it with a block or your hand on the floor. And try to get that hip aligned. And inhale. So this back and forth movement is quite challenging, right? Now, if you do not want all that challenge today, you can just stay in the pose and forget this back and forth movement. I'm going to do it one more time. Inhale, extend, and up. I find it quite fun going in and out of it. Nice little challenge. Exhale, I'm bending that knee a little bit, pushing off when I can. And then opening that top hip. I've got the chair here to help me. Aligning those shoulders. And then maybe you can add that top arm. And some of you will be able to look up to the sky. This is my harder side, so I'm not going to add that challenge today. And feel the strength in that standing leg. The opening of the hip. And when you've had enough, coming out of it. And release. I'm going to bring my chair to the other side so you can see the front of me as I do this. Again, you can have a block to do it with a block or with your hand on the floor. So your hand goes to about here on the floor. If you're using the floor or a block, it goes to just ahead of you around there. Okay, so if you're doing it with a block or the floor. So finding your Uttanasana, this is a variation of it, often called Chantrasana, but we just say it's Trikonasana. Exhale, it's a variation of Trikonasana. And you got the hand behind. Obviously, I'm warming up. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, going down. Just do this in your own time. You can add that top arm right away or keep it on your lower back. When you come out of it, reaching beyond the space of that toe for the floor. So you want to really feel the space around you. Feel the space beyond that toe extending out, the hands stretching out. Feel the space around you. Doing this 3 to 4 times. Inhale, coming out. Exhale. I think this is our 4th time. We're going to stay now. And just find your pose on this side. I can probably look up. This might be easier side. Just appropriate challenge. And that standing leg, you might be feeling the outside of the hip working a lot. This is really strengthening for the hips. Opening the hips as well. This is also used for the lower back. It can be very soothing on the lower back, especially with a wall behind you, if you do that version. It's a really lovely version. And when you've had enough, you're about 6 breaths coming out. And release. Whew. All right, we're making good timing today. So let us do a forward bend. This time we're going to do a wider forward bend. So legs apart. You could have a chair in front of you. You could have a couple of blocks in front of you as you do this as well. I'm going to do it without props. Inhale, I'm going to bring the arms to the sides. Exhale, I'm going to bring the hands to the hips as I come down. Now the hands can be on the sides of the hips. You could put the palms facing down on the lower back or up. And then I'm going to sweep around and up as I go up and down, just adding some neck and shoulders here, just in case The neck and shoulders got a bit jammed by that last pose. Exhale, I'm just going to rotate back and forth. Or you can just leave the hands on the hips or the lower back. Now stay in the pose. Stretch the hands forward, the floor ahead of you if you like. You can bring the feet a little wider apart perhaps. And just start with that. Your hands can also be below your shoulders. That might feel better for your back. That brings your back higher. Your hands can be on blocks. Your hands can be on a chair. So find the height that works for your lower back. You want to extend, you want to lengthen the back, and then draw the belly in. Those two things in a forward bend. You want to lengthen the the length, the tana, the stretch of Uttanasana, and then draw the belly in. So your lower back will round a bit. Find your pose. You can also, if you want for fun, put a block under your head. Try to bring your head in the center. Some of you will be able to do it without a block. Kind of testing that out. I like to hold on to my ankles. You can hold on to your big toes as well. That's more classical. I like to bend and straighten the legs just to work the lower back a bit. This is also giving you a big groin stretch, potentially. When you're ready, inhale, coming up slowly, hands on the thighs. Inhale, exhale, stay. Inhale all the way up. Just coming gently out of that forward bend in case things have really stretched beyond your norm and you don't want to just have any spasms as you come up. If you are prone to that, just be a little careful coming out of your forward bends. Notice how you feel in your feet and your hips. You're starting to feel quite heavy in your legs, quite grounded. All right, this is a lot of standing poses. We're going to do one more set of standing poses, and then I'm going to give you a little bit on the floor today, but today's mainly standing poses. So we're going to do Shavasana. I don't think we need the chair for this one, so I'm going to just put my chair aside so it's a little better. All right, so bringing your feet nice and wide apart. Turning your left foot out. Your right foot can be perpendicular or turned in. Heel to heel alignment or heel to arch. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, bend that front knee. Now you might adjust that foot so you have a bigger stance. Just see where you're at this morning or this evening, some of you. Exhale, coming to the side, shoulders aligned. Inhale, extend that top arm. Exhale, bring the hand up. Inhale, standing. Exhale, going into it. Inhale, extend. Exhale, hand to the sky. Inhale through warrior two to standing. Last time we're going to stay here, just repeating 3 times. Inhale, extend. Now you're going to stay here. Now if it's too much for you to stay, try moving that top arm. Exhale, bend, top arm, look down. Inhale, look towards me. So this is for neck and shoulders. The pose itself is working a lot with the hips, opening the hips, Parshva Konasana. Anything with Konasana in the pose is working with the hips. It's also great for the lower back, for spinal imbalances. And some of you might want to just stay in the pose and see where you can get this morning. Now I have my arm inside the hips so that I can open that hip. And when you're ready, coming out, inhale up, exhale center. Take a moment, set up for the other side. We'll repeat 3 times. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, side angle. I'm just starting with my arm on top of the thigh, nice and gentle. Line those shoulders. Inhale, lengthen your arm along the ear. Exhale, hand to the sky. You can look straight up or down. Inhale, standing. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Last time, exhale. We're going to stay here now. Inhale. Adding a dynamic stay. Exhale, bend the elbow, look down. This is neck and shoulders, just helping us breathe a little bit as we stay here and work also into that side stretch. Notice the stretch in your hips. If you can get that front hand inside your hip, you can open it. Don't force. See if you can get a little more deeply into that front hip. And then just stay in the pose. See if you can work on that extension. Get those shoulders aligned, that top shoulder, make sure it's not looping forward. Get those shoulders aligned. And you feel more side stretch if you get that correct alignment. It's actually really nice. I've got a wall here, your hand to the wall. And when you're ready, coming forward, forward bend, asana-pada Uttanasana again. Pick your version of this pose. I'm going to hold my big toes. Inhale, stiti, looking up a little bit. Exhale, forward bend. You should be pretty warm by now. And heading to the floor, we're going to pivot to one of the legs as we inhale. And exhale, coming back to child's pose. Now, the version of child's pose I'm going to choose today is with the knees apart. So it's getting more into the hips. I'm going to have a block here that I'm going to put my belly on. You can use a pillow, you can use a bolster. And, you'll see, I hope, that this helps lengthen the back. I'm going to show it to you both ways. So my knees apart, coming forward. You'll see a bit of a sink in my lower back. When I put this block underneath my belly, I like just the block myself. It pushes my belly up and my lower back gets longer. I don't know if you can see that. I can feel it. So play with that. And then to get more into the hips, try to bring the buttocks back. Now, for some of you, this will not be working for your knees. I think those of you who are in that situation know this modification because I teach a lot. I'm going to move my chair over here so it's not in your view. Okay, so this is a great modification for child's pose. Is that the wall. This hip version looks like frog pose. Your feet turned out, and you just move your feet until they can just hang out without any effort and get that groin stretch here. So that's your modification. Child's pose hurts your knees. We'll stay here just for 2 more breaths. And when you're ready, you're going to flip over, or if you're already in child's pose, just come forward onto your belly. So, telling my Sunday class that this has been come from my studying of anatomy, just understanding that when you're working with the hips, to strengthen the hips, you want to also strengthen the back of the hips. So this pose actually does work on strengthening the lower back and the hips. A lot of what we're doing today is hips and lower back. So just going to start with my feet at the wall. You can put a block between your thighs if you want. I'm not going to do that today. I hope you guys can see me okay. I'm going to have to look at my video later. Anyway, here we go. My arms are by my side, or I'm putting my hands on top of each other and my forehead on my hands, which is my preferred version. You can use a block here. Inhale, you're going to straighten your legs and feel your legs working as well as your glutes, and exhale, release. That's the beginning. If that feels easy, just stay in the pose. Just stay there and breathe, okay? So we're preparing for Shavasana, lotus. Okay, that's your warm up, just to get everything firing. Then we're going to move one leg at a time. I'm going to move away from the wall a bit. Inhale, bring one leg up. The other foot can be tucked under so that you're using that other leg more, or it can be relaxed. Exhale, release. So I'll show it both ways. You can have the feet relaxed and just go up and down. Inhale up. Exhale down, or you can tuck the toes under and just see if that helps you get a bit more pelvic stability with the toes tucked under. Inhale up, exhale down, just finishing up. And for fun, you can try both legs. Inhale up, exhale down. And counter pose, just go back to your child's pose, or lie on your back, knees to chest. Those back arches also work with the kidneys. I know some of you in the class know that through your personal practice. It works on stimulating the kidneys, and it's used for kidney health, those leg lifts. All right. One last set. 2 if we're lucky. Lie on your side. I'm going to do the sleeping Vishnu pose. You can have a block under your head rather than your arm, and just wrap that top that bottom arm around you. Otherwise, use it as a pillow. If you can, stretch your top leg out. Inhale, you're going to extend that leg away from you and try to get some traction in that hip. Exhale, bring your leg up. Inhale, extend the leg long and try to get some traction in the hip. So having the bottom leg bend rather than straight allows you to get this length in the hip. Exhale up. Got the knee facing the front the whole time. You can add the top arm. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bring the hand down. This is moving more towards the classical in our tradition, the vinyasa. And after you've done around 6, we're going to switch sides, bend the knees, come to the other side. Okay. Our classes, you gotta do a lot efficiently. Inhale, lengthening. I'm adding my arm right away. And exhale, coming up. Just going, you can use that arm or not. Stretching the toes away as much as you can when you do that inhale, exhale up. Doing this around 6 times. And when you feel complete, roll onto your back to end with some leg lifts and stretches. So we're going all around the clock, just like we did in standing when we did that hip movement. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, bring one leg up. Now you can bend the other knee if you need to as you do this. Inhale, extend. Exhale, other leg. The opposite leg can bend or it can be straight. I'm showing it with bend to begin with. Do it just with straight legs, if that's accessible to you. This is acting as a counter pose as well. Now, when you have that leg bent, when you come out of it, you can stretch long and you can stretch, decompress a hip if you've got a compressed hip. So when you come out of it, stretching those toes away from you, like someone's pulling you. And release, moving into Shavasana, or if you need to, just do a counter pose. I'm going to bring my feet to the wall and just rest for a moment. And as you rest there, I'm just going to chant for you to close. You can just rest in your Shavasana and listen. This chant is to Durga, fierce female, removing negativity from ourselves, from our minds, from our emotions. Katyayanaya vidmahe Kanyakumari dhimahi Tanno vidya prachodayat Katyayanaya vidmahe Kanyakumari dhimahi Tanno Durgya prachodayat Katyayanaya vidmahe Kanyakumari dhimahi Tanno Durgya prachodayat Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Namaste, Namaskaram. Thank you very much.